Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Ryan alongside Caleb. We are here for our weekly stream on Monday nights, every Monday at 7 p.m. We have this stream ongoing, talk about the upcoming week and also the long term forecast as well. So, we have quite a bit to talk about tonight, but it's a pretty easy forecast going forward. We're just going to recap for those of you who are unfamiliar or if you guys missed what happened yesterday. We do have, starting with currently ongoing, we have some snow showers up in the UP. No significant accumulations expected, but a welcome sight up there. We're talking about more snow chances here in the long term when we get to that point later in this forecast video. But for right now, just what I've mentioned up there in the UP, we're getting some lake effect rain, lake effect snow showers by the Marquette area. Now, switching this over and back to what we're going to talk about for the most part. To start, we're going to be looking at two confirmed tornadoes that occurred yesterday in Michigan, number 15 and number 16 on the year for us. The first one to get confirmed today was the one in Holly, which is in northwestern Oakland County, an EF0 tornado with wind speeds right around 75 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour. Now it's your EF0, pretty weak in nature, destroyed multiple trees, some structures as well, had roof damage, windows were blown out, stuff like that. Pretty minor in nature, no injuries and no fatalities with this one. And then the second one to get recently confirmed just a few hours, or actually just an hour ago or so, is the one we broke in on Facebook and YouTube for our coverage yesterday. This is in Gratiot County, just to the south of Ithaca, an EF0 tornado that took out just a tree. They confirmed it as just a tree that got damaged and some limbs. And that's about it. EF0, 65 miles per hour. That's the weakest wind speeds a tornado can really have. So that's like the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, in terms of strength of a tornado. So quite a weak one, but still a tornado nonetheless. We caught both of these yesterday on our stream. So awesome job to the eyes behind the radar, not just me, but again, shout out to Joel, Alex, and also Mike, who was on here helping. Did some good coverage yesterday, called it out as it happened. So that's number 15, number 60 on the year, and that sufficiently verifies our forecast we did at the start of the year. 16 to 22 was our guess. We predicted above average in terms of our total, and we are now firmly within that 16 to 22 range. So we are on average, or we are on par with average for the year. All right, now we can jump into the week ahead. So it's going to be quite a up and down week, so to speak, to at least for the first half into the mid part of the week. We're starting today quite warm across much of the state, mid 50s, upwards of 60 in some spots. I got close to 60 here at my house, but tomorrow's going to be a little bit of a shock. We're going to drop back down toward 50 degrees tomorrow, and then we're going to kind of stay there for the rest of the week. For Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right around the upper 40s and low 50s is the expectation across much of lower Michigan. Up in the UP will be a few degrees less than that, but overall, it's not going to be a warm week, but it's not going to be a cold week either. We're going to call it a certified Michigan fall week, as we've said the past couple of weeks have been. This is no exception here. We're going to continue our above average temperature pattern. Average for this time of year is roughly 45 to 50 degrees or so. And we are right on par, just sitting above average in terms of our temperatures. So again, this is not uncommon. This is right about average in terms of our upcoming week's temperatures. Now, as far as rain chances go, we do have, again, some snow showers going on in the UP currently, as well as some lake effect rain. That's going to move out. Next chance of rain will come in for the Thursday, perhaps Thursday morning early, overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning, that time frame. The GFS model here shows some rain moving in for basically the entire state. And then we look at this rain will move out through the evening on Thursday into Friday morning. Overall precip accumulations as far as rain totals go, let's just loads in here. We're looking at, again, about quarter to about 3/4 of an inch perhaps across parts of the state. We're having, GFS model says the west half of Michigan gets the most, right around a half inch to about an inch. And if you're further east or further north, you're about 1/4 inch to half inch there. So again, a good soaking rain continues here. We need it. We're still in a drought. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But overall, we're going to be looking at this as a much beneficial rain come Thursday. No strong or severe weather is expected with Thursday's round. It should just primarily be rain. Okay, back here to the rain as far as the next couple of days past Thursday. We're going to be, hold on, Facebook's not working again? What? Is it not working again? We'll cover it here in a second. We'll get on it. We're going to continue. So again, next chance past Thursday into Friday, we're looking at again a rain chance for the weekend here. It should be primarily dry for our Friday, Saturday, but as we get towards Sunday night into Monday morning, we're going to be looking at again renewed chances of our rain chances here as we look at the GFS model here. It brings a low pressure system up that could draw southern Michigan up into the 90 or not 90s, the 60s perhaps. Yeah, I almost said 90 as far as temperatures. No, we're looking at 60s perhaps on or Monday, Tuesday for southern Michigan if that low pressure can dig far enough north. But this will bring us renewed chances for rain. And after the system works through on the backside, we may be talking snow chances. We're not going to be talking about accumulations or significant accumulations. But after the system moves through around the 20th, we're going to be looking at a pattern flip that's going to support colder temperatures into that last, we're going to say 10 days or so of November. And as this system moves out, our upper level winds may turn out of the northwest. And when we get northwest or westerly winds off of our warm lakes with cold temperatures, that is a prime lake effect environment. So we could be talking about some lake effect snow chances in the last 10 days of November. Again, we're not going to lock that in just yet. It's just a kind of pattern trend we're seeing as we get closer and closer to November, about November 20th or so. So keep an eye on that. We'll keep you guys updated. Again, nothing significant at this point is expected in terms of snowfall, but I think it's a reminder here that we're knocking on winter's door here pretty soon. We're close to December here, and then we're going to be starting to get colder and such, and we're going to have snow chances increase here as we get later in the year. So one more chance here, I'd say, perhaps some gusty showers possible if that low pressure can dig far enough north. Although right now it's kind of riding a fine line between the north-south. We'll have to keep an eye on it. We're still 9 days out from it. We're just going to keep an eye. We'll keep you guys updated on how that's looking. But again, renewed chances come Monday, Tuesday next week. And past that, we're looking at that pattern flip. And you can see that kind of reflected on the model here. We kind of drop off from the mid 50s here into the 40s, even 30s on the long term here as we get toward Thanksgiving. So a cool down definitely on par here for the last 10 days of November. Okay. That is your forecast. So recapping, rain chances Thursday and again Sunday night into Monday. And then as we get past that, a lot of uncertainty happens, but we should be a lot colder in terms of our temperatures. And we should be, I'm going to say, pretty much done, I'd say, with warm temperatures for the year after that. I'm going to guess. Okay. Long-term forecast here, we're looking at the Climate Prediction Center for the next 8 to 14 days. They do have Michigan in an above-average contour here from November 19th to November 25th. Personally, disagree. We're not going to disagree too often with the CPC, but in this case, we will. We're going to look at temperatures on average roughly around that 45 or so degree mark in the end of September or November, should I say. We're looking at temperatures probably going to be right around that 40 to 45 mark. So I'm thinking about near average or just a tad bit below in terms of our temperatures here. We'll see if they update this to reflect guidance, latest guidance at least out of the models. But for right now, they're predicting above average temperatures there for the last half of November, which I disagree with. As far as precip goes, we still remain in an active pattern that's going to continue as well. Regardless of temperatures, we are in a very amplified, so to speak, jet stream. So we're going to have renewed chances here for showers. I'm not going to say storms, but showers and perhaps snowfall as we get toward the end of November. It's going to continue a system every 3, 4, 5 days or so. That's the norm here, and we need all the precipitation we can get. So we'll take it. But overall, expect wetter than average conditions. I'm going to say near normal, if not leaning below average for the next last 10 days of November. But again, from now until that 20th of November, we're going to be right around average to above average in terms of our temperatures and so on and so forth. Last thing we're going to talk about here is our drought conditions. Even with the rain the past couple of days, past week or so, we still have quite a big drought. Although I'll notice up there in the UP, we've knocked out our severe drought in the central and eastern half, and also very far northern lower Michigan. We've knocked out our severe drought, but we're still in a moderate drought. So we're making a dent in it, but it's not fully gone yet, so to speak. So the entire state remains dry and will likely remain dry into winter unless we get a very significant rainfall event, which is still a possibility. But I'm going to say it's looking unlikely. We're going to probably carry this drought into the winter time. So that is the current conditions as far as the drought goes. All right. With that being said, I think that's all I have to share for the upcoming week. So if you guys got questions, the floor is yours. Pop out chat here. This stream is working on Facebook as far as I'm concerned on my end. So if you are Yeah, I don't know what happened yesterday, but our software would not connect to Facebook at all. So we had to try to reconnect it, and we just couldn't get it back up and running. So it is working on my end now, so that's good news. If you guys happen to have issues with it, let us know. We'll try and either fix it, or I don't know if it's our end of software or if it's Facebook's end. I just don't know. I really don't. Are any winds predicted with some of the storms this week? So, Kate, not really thinking any storms this week. Perhaps some gusty showers come closer to the 20th of November, but the rain on Thursday should just be rain. Not expecting any wind with that. Crystal says it's 33 here right now, supposed to be as low as 25. You must be in the UP, Crystal. You must be up there in the UP.
Yeah, it's definitely going to get pretty cold up there. You guys have just been blustery up there today. Winds have just been ripping out of the northwest, 20 to 35 miles an hour. A lot of power outages up there, too. Looking at the power outage map earlier today, there was as many as 16,000 customers, 19,000 customers actually without power. Most of those across the UP here. The latest map has that down to 6,000. So power crews are out there and working. So that's a good sign there. Even a 73 miles per hour wind gust measured just offshore in Lake Superior by a buoy. That's quite impressive out there.
Adding on to that, we also had reports of the upper 50s gusts on land upward, like Gogebic County, Ontonagon, Mariga. All those upper counties up there in the UP had really gusty winds today. And like Caleb said, 73 mile per hour measured on a buoy. There's also another one, 63, I believe, that was measured just offshore of Marquette. So quite a lot of wind up there today. And also northern lower up there toward Gaylord, up there in the very tip top of lower Michigan. We're looking at wind gusts 40 to 50 up there too. Had some outages there as well today. So definitely a windy day for sure. And that's pretty common in November too, due to these low pressure systems that carry a lot of wind.
Yep.
That's pretty common. You guys remember the Edmund Fitzgerald? It sank, what was it, 59 years?
49 years ago 49. Yesterday.
Yeah, so that was caused by these gale force winds the song talks about the gales of November. That's this. This is the wind that we get in November. This is pretty common. So
we've got those big, strong cold core lows that move down out of Canada, and oftentimes they can bring a lot of wind with them. Waves in Lake Superior today were estimated to be upwards of 20 feet in places. I think when the Fitzgerald sank, I believe they were forecasted 28, and that's about as high of a wave as you can get on Lake Superior. They kind of max out at that 28 foot. Now they can slosh like in a bathtub, and when you get those clashing waves, you can get waves, twice the height of that. But generally, the average wave height peaks at about 28 on Lake Superior, so which is still an impressive wave. I mean, that's like a 2-story building, so it's pretty high.
Yep.
But yeah, good news is power is being restored there across northern lower and the UP. So good news there, as it's going to get quite cold tonight. You guys might, I know a lot of people are prideful about not using your furnaces, but you might need them tonight across the UP as it's going to get down into the mid-lower 20s, especially across western UP. Low 20s are expected there. Over towards Republic, Michigami, those areas, they could get quite cold.
And give a shout out to our sponsor while we have a second here. If you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in chat. But quick shout out to our sponsor, Katz Roofing and Siding. They're based out of South Central Michigan, primarily Lansing area, but they cover Battle Creek, surrounding areas as well. Roofing, siding, gutters, windows. Feel free to give them a call, 517-485-9886. They would appreciate that, as would we. And if you are a sponsor looking to become a partner with us, feel free to message us. We are opening applications up, and we are replying to all of you guys who have messaged us over the past month or so. We're getting back with you guys. So if you guys happen to be watching, run a business, you want to advertise with us, feel free to contact us. Let's go ahead and talk some logistics.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in chat here. Skylar asked a great question. How does the SPC determine tornado winds compared to severe storm winds? Damage would be similar, correct? Yeah, so how they do that is there's a little bit of a difference between the two. I'll start with severe thunderstorm winds. So the SPC, that's the Storm Prediction Center. They're based out of Norman, Oklahoma. So they are the branch of the National Weather Service that put together our outlooks, such as severe weather outlooks. That's what they do. The National Weather Service are our local offices, such as the National Weather Service in Gaylord, Grand Rapids, Detroit, etc. Those are our local offices, and they're the ones responsible for the damage surveys. So they go out after a tornado has been spotted or after they see evidence on radar, hey, there was possibly one here. They'll put together a damage survey team and they'll actually head out and do the survey on the ground. So how they tell the difference is there's a lot of clues and identifiers that they look for while they're on the ground. For example, every damage or every storm has a pattern. A tornado, you want to look for convergence. You want to see that rotational damage. How's that debris laid out? Does it look like a steamroller laid it out? Is everything laying in a uniform direction? Or is there a lot of convergence where you have debris in a rotational pattern laid out across a narrow swath? That would indicate more so a tornado versus straight line winds. And also, do you have like debris that has been thrown and lifted up, such as debris in trees, power lines, etc.? In straight line winds, that wind force is pushing down like a steamroller. In a tornado, you have rotational winds blowing around, but you also have a lifting. You have an updraft there that's lofting debris up in the air. So there's different debris indicators that they look for in determining the difference between straight line winds and tornadoes. So that's kind of what they look for when they're out in the field. A good question, though. Bubba asked, any real strong frost or freeze warnings coming this week? The answer is no. The National Weather Service will not issue any more frost or freeze warnings for the rest of the year until springtime, and that is because the growing season has ended. It actually ended in October. So they only issue frost and freeze warnings or cold weather advisories during the growing season or when the growing season is still active, such as when flowers, crops, mainly crops, especially your cash crops are still growing. That can be fruit production, cereal grains, etc. They'll issue those during the active growing season. But when your soil temps get below 50 degrees, your growing conditions are done. And so that ended here in about mid-late October, pretty seasonal for this time of year. But they'll issue those again come springtime once the growing season starts again. Good question. Ryan, if you're talking, we can't hear you, buddy.
I don't know why. I got it now.
I was just looking at the talk, and I'm like, I don't think they can hear you.
Batman asked to explain the new winter alert. Now, I believe that they're referring to perhaps like the new freeze warnings. Perhaps there's some verbiage changes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact details of those changes, but there have been some headline changes. I think it's freeze warnings or something that just got changed to like cold weather warnings. It's something.
Yeah, here this fall they made that change come into effect 2025, I think.
Right. Well, once those get issued, we'll push them out. We'll inform you guys what they mean. But it was just some minor changes to the headlines.
But as far as like when they issue those, it'll still be during the growing season or before the growing season ends. Once the growing season ends, and that's pretty much nationwide too, whether you're in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Indiana, etc. Once the growing season ends, they'll cap off those frost advisories, freeze warnings, etc. So. Any other questions you guys have? Feel free to put them in the chat here. Again, pretty quiet week overall this week. Our next chance of rain comes Thursday. That'll bring a nice steady rain throughout the state of Michigan. No severe weather expected, nothing like what we had yesterday. Yesterday was kind of a surprise event that surprised a lot of us yesterday. We didn't see everything coming together for that to materialize, but it just goes to show when you have these strong systems, it really doesn't take all that much more to really get a severe weather event. And that's what happened yesterday. But nothing like that is expected on Thursday, just some much needed rain. So hopefully we'll keep knocking out this drought one system at a time here.
As far as rainfall, some are asked how heavy will the rainfall be. It'll be probably moderate at times. Expect it to be close to about a half inch or so on average across the state, between about a quarter inch and about 3/4 of an inch. Maybe isolated higher, isolated lower amounts, but between that should be the range. And here's a map of rainfall there, if you can see. I'll zoom in here for Michigan.
Yeah, the flood risk is quite low. No flooding is expected with this. just some nice, light, moderate, steady rainfall. So.
Mm-hmm. Jack Attack asks, will you go live for flash flood warnings? Only if it's life threatening. We'll go live, but otherwise, no, we don't. Like, for example, if something happens like the Midland Sanford Dam fails like it did a couple of years ago, we'll probably go live for that just to give a heads up and get the word out to as many people as possible. But for just regular flood warnings and stuff like that, no.
But adding on that, we'll post updates on our page on Michigan Weather Now to give you a heads up what's going on, what are the rivers gauging, what are those water heights looking like. We'll continually post updates. We just probably won't go live for them. Batman asks, why do you think they didn't add a marginal risk for Eastern Michigan? I assume you're referring to yesterday. Well, that event as a whole snuck up on a lot of us, including the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center. Really, what we saw going into this event was you have a strong low pressure system moving into the state, moving into the region, but we didn't see a lot of instability with it. We just saw moisture, a lot of wind shear, so we had a few of the ingredients, but we didn't have all of them. Until early afternoon, we had something come that was called 3 Cape. And that's a form of instability that can aid in a lifting mechanism to get storms up. And when we had that come in, that also allowed the updrafts to strengthen a little bit too, and allowed those storms to tap into the wind shear that we had. And that's where we got those gusty winds and a couple spin-up tornadoes from yesterday, was because we had that instability piece come into play that we didn't originally think was going to be there at all. That kind of surprised a lot of us. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center didn't issue a marginal risk. Now, if we had more confidence in that instability being there, the chances of them adding a marginal risk would have been pretty high. They probably would have had that in place. They're usually pretty good about that. But because we didn't see it until it occurred, that's why they didn't have that up. There wasn't enough time. So.
Is it time to dig out snow shovels yet? Dawn, we're getting close, but not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
So I see a question here from Janelle and also Axe. I'm assuming they're referring to the same thing here, asking for clear skies, Janelle asks, and then also expected solar storms. So clear skies, or the clearest skies, are going to be probably Friday and Saturday nights. Those are going to be your probably clearest nights for this week. Everything else looks cloudy for the most part. As far as solar storms go, nothing imminent, but we do have a nice sunspot region facing Earth right now that if it can launch a solar flare that has a CME, it'll likely be directed at us. So it's just like cross your fingers and hope it does something. But then again, we also look at pretty cloudy conditions unless we're in that Friday or Saturday night period. So keep that in mind too. We have to kind of time it just right to get this to be visible.
Yep.
Dawn says I'm mean.
Yeah, she's not wrong.
Skylar asked, is it too far out for a forecast for Thanksgiving? The answer is yes, but I will say the long term is trending cooler for that week. So I would expect it to be on the cooler side. If I had to take a stab at it, 15 days away, I'd say right around 40 or so degrees would be a good start.
Probably closer to average.
Yeah. So.
Yep. We'll know more on that here next week as we get closer. Once that's in the near-term forecast, so we'll have a forecast out for you. We'll have a Thanksgiving outlook once we get closer to that time frame, and that data is available for that day. We'll get some outlooks out for you guys as we get closer.
All right. Any more questions while we're on here? About 25 minutes into this. If you haven't hit the like button already, please feel free to do that. It's the best way to support our channel for free, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. Every like goes toward the algorithm on both platforms, and that helps us out in terms of visibility to people who do not watch us usually. Yep. So,
and I will make a note here while you guys are putting your questions down in the chat box. If you are in northern lower Michigan, especially the UP tonight, watch out for black ice on bridges tonight. Those lake effect snow showers have produced According to traffic cams, it looks like anywhere between a ½ inch and an inch of snow, mainly on grassy surfaces. Your roadways are wet just because our surface temperatures are very warm. So no accumulation is expected on the roadways tonight. However, temperatures are going to drop very quickly, and they are continuing to do so as I speak right now. Low 20s are expected tonight across the western UP. So if you're on the roadways tonight, watch out for black ice, especially on bridges and elevated roadways. There could be some black ice here. And here's one traffic cam here. This is from Michigami, right in. Let me get this pulled up here. Here we go.
West of Marquette, south of Baraga.
Yeah. Yep.
And then also one here just to the south of Alberta. Again, it's coming, guys. I mean, UP's already seen it, but it's only a matter of time before we get our first white.
Yep. You can see how your roadways there is really shiny. That's indicative of the snow is melting on the roadways. However, it could freeze tonight, especially on bridges and overpasses and other elevated surfaces. So do keep that in mind. Watch out for black ice tonight across the UP and northern lower as well, as we do drop into the 20s. So keep that in mind.
Fordo, that question can be answered basically back to our winter outlook. We're expecting right around average snowfall. So depending on where you live in Michigan, if you're on, well, I think I know where you live actually. So for where you're at on the southeast side, we're looking probably closer to average 40 to 50 inches or so of snow would be the going expectation.
Yeah, and the reason for that is I'll kind of give you a brief synopsis here. So when looking at a winter forecast right now, a lot of people look at what's called ENSO, or is it an El Nino year or a La Nina winter? So those water temperatures are across the equator, called the Equatorial Pacific, just off the coast of South America, off of Chile. Those water temperatures play a key role, typically, historically speaking, in our winter season. They affect the jet stream. Is it going to be really wavy or is it going to be really linear? A linear jet stream is a really strong polar vortex or a stable polar vortex. When you get a weaker one, it's real wavy. That allows those pulses of cold air to shoot down into the Great Lakes region and give us a lot of cold air and chances for snow. Well, historically speaking, so we are going into a La Nina winter, a weak La Nina, and historically that would trend to below average temperatures and above average precipitation. However, I don't think La Nina is going to be the big player at the ballgame this year, because of that is because we're looking at water temperatures across the northern Pacific. Ryan, keep that screen right there. So as you look right there, what he's highlighting, that is called the NPO, or Northern Pacific Oscillation. Really what that measures is the water temperatures north of the equator, from the Aleutian Islands all the way to just east of Japan there. Those water temperatures, we actually just came from a record month of October in terms of water temperatures being so warm across the northern Pacific. They're near record warmth right now. Sorry, I can't talk. So with that being said, that's kind of going to counteract the cooler waters across the Equatorial Pacific, because the NPO has an equal, if not greater, effect on our climate in the wintertime, just like the water temperatures across the Equatorial Pacific. So those being so warm to the north are going to add a moisture component. They're going to keep us with above average precipitation here this winter, more than likely. However, what that warm water does, it's also favoring a stronger polar vortex. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get a real wavy one. That's a weaker polar vortex. A stronger polar vortex is when it's more stable, it's more linear. So that will limit how many waves we get this winter. And something else to look at too, your Siberian snowpack right now is really quite low for this time of year. And that speaks volume too, because it's important to take note on what's going on the other side of the world, because just due to the borealis effect, global wind patterns, they move around the globe. So it's important to look what's going on over there to see how that may affect us over here. And seeing that they're already having a very low below average snowfall year really says something about what this winter is really shaping up to be. Now, will we get snow? Absolutely. We're going to get snow this winter. But given the fact of we have really warm waters across the Pacific, and we have a positive northern Atlantic, meaning a little bit cooler than average up there, but also still very warm. So that's going to impact the way the jet stream moves and dips this winter. So right now we're favoring a more stable jet stream versus a meridional jet stream. So similar years to this one that we can remember are 2011, 2012. That was a year where we had very similar conditions to this, as well as 2012 and 2013. We had back-to-back winters like that, as well as 21 to 22 and last year. Last year we had a really warm Northern Pacific, and that's why we were really rather warm last year. However, this year we do have a La Nina, which we didn't have last year. So that may help us trend closer to average, maybe slightly below average in temperatures. But overall, I think we're going to trend near average, if not slightly above. We're going to teeter between going above and below. We're just right there at that tipping point. It really just comes down to the polar vortex on what kind of blocking we get. Is that going to allow it to dip down and stay down, or is it going to stay just to our north? Those are questions that we don't know yet, and that have to be answered as we get into winter. So that's kind of where our forecast is coming from. So right now we are looking at near average snowfall with temperatures pretty much equal chances of going either way. They could trend above average or just slightly below. It just depends on how that polar jet stream is going to take shape here over winter. So my fingers are crossed for snow. I'm a snow lover, so I'm hoping we get some.
It's been a few years since we had a good certified Michigan winter.
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah, especially for businesses up in the UP and northern lower that need snow. So
yeah, my fingers are crossed for them. So I'm personally hoping for a snowy winter. We just won't know until we get closer. And just because we're trending near average snowfall or just slightly above or near average temperatures doesn't mean we're going to have no snow. I mean, it really only takes one storm system to really sway those numbers one way or the other. If everything comes together, I mean, we can still have periods where we're going to be above average, but it really only takes one system to really throw those numbers into an active snow year. So my fingers are crossed. We'll just have to see what we get.
Are we ever going to get a repeat of the 78 blizzard? I mean, I think eventually, I think everything's possible. If it's happened before, it can happen again.
Yeah.
It's just, again, there's a lot that goes into that. And we could get it this year, sure. I mean, we definitely could, but
that was really a perfect storm in terms of climatically speaking. I mean, everything came together perfectly for that to happen. And I mean, if it can align itself once, it can surely align itself again. It's just those storm systems are so significant and so off the scale. They're few and far between. So can it happen again? Sure, absolutely. Will it happen this year? Don't know. Once we see those trends coming together, then we'll get excited for it. But for right now, it's just a waiting game until they align again.
Yep. All right. Any more questions, guys, before we hop off here? See you, Penny. Thanks for stopping in. Go ahead and do a recap here real quick of the upcoming week. And if no more questions pop in, we'll go ahead and pop out of here. So upcoming week is going to be pretty simple in nature. Let's go ahead and go back here to our temperature forecast. Give me a second to get back to it. There we go. This is based out of Lansing. Temperatures for the week are going to start today. It was pretty warm, mid 50s, upper 50s, low 60s across much of Michigan. We're going to drop off for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday into the upper 40s and low 50s across much of the state. As we get toward next week, a brief warm-up around that Sunday, Monday time frame. We'll watch for that time period as well for probably our last chance for some gusty showers. We'll talk about that here in a second. But overall, outside of the temperatures, about average, leaning above average in terms of the trend. But as far as precip goes for rain, next chance of rain besides tonight in the UP, got some snow and rain going on up there tonight. Next chance of rain comes Thursday. That's going to be for much of the state. Thursday morning, perhaps late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Going to be a good moderate rainfall moving through. It should clear out by the time Thursday night comes or rolls around. Accumulation, about 1/4 inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain expected across much of the state. There's your accumulating totals. This model says the west side has a greater chance of accumulating rain than anywhere else in the state, but we should see a good soaking rain for a lot of us here. And that should also make a dent in our drought conditions that we have ongoing statewide. Outside of that, the next chance of rain past the Thursday time frame will be Sunday into Monday, perhaps Tuesday as well. Going back here to the precip type, we're going to be looking at a next system moving in from the southwest. And this is where things change for us long term. Looking at the temperature drop off, we talked about the warm up period around Sunday, Monday. That's your system drawing up the warm air from the Gulf of Mexico. And after the system passes through, we're going to be left with a much colder pattern to deal with. So this could be our last chance for some gusty showers if that low pressure tracks far enough north. We could have a similar setup to yesterday, perhaps, or back on Halloween. We have some windy conditions. Rain showers are likely. On the backside of this low pressure, snow showers are likely as far as we're concerned for right now. We're still 10 days away. We're not going to lock it in completely, but we do look to be cold enough for snow to start picking up. That's the lake effect in nature. Nothing significant accumulation-wise is expected, but I think we should keep an eye on it just in case. We could see a couple inches of accumulation for lake effect prone areas in West Michigan and the UP, Northern Lower, et cetera, et cetera. We'll watch it. We'll keep you guys updated as we get closer to that. That is your week in a pinch. With that being said, any more questions before we hop out of here? I do not see any. So, with that being said, we're going to pop out of here. So we'll see you guys. Planning on Wednesday for a podcast. Depends, though. I'm coming down with a sickness more than likely, so I'm going to have a voice come Wednesday. So we'll see. So we'll plan on Wednesday for our regular podcast, and if not, we'll see you guys next Monday. And of course, on Facebook and YouTube for our updates as well. So stay tuned for all those. We'll see you guys hopefully Wednesday evening. You guys have a great night. Stay safe and stay warm out there.